Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. So in this video, I'm going to discuss whether the Democratic Unionist Party and the Ulster Unionist Party ought to merge, because one of my faithful subscribers suggested that I discuss this very point. I've been saying this for several years. You can see my Facebook feed that they ought to join forces. It really makes no sense that they're competing. It's a foolish waste of resources. But let's go back in history and see where they come from. We'll start with the Ulster Unionist Party, which has a good claim to be the oldest party in Ireland. So let me see. It depends how far you want to go back to the Act of Union of blah, blah, blah. And then the Liberal Party in the United Kingdom plumping for Home Rule in 1885. And there were Liberals and Conservatives in Ireland, as well as the Home Rule Party. So the Conservative Party, very strongly identified with fully defending the Union, no Home Rule for any portion of Ireland. So the Liberals in Ireland mostly became Liberal Unionists at that point. So not part of the mainstream UK Liberal Party, which is committed to Home Rule. So a lot of Liberals in Great Britain likewise became Liberal Unionists. Liberal Unionists and Conservatives merged over the years. Sometimes it's called the Unionist Party, eventually really just the Conservative Party. So that was that. So the Ulster Unionist Party, you could trace it to 1885, maybe to 1905, the foundation of the Ulster Unionist Council, and then Sinn Féin founded in 1906, if I've got that right, just a bit younger. Occasionally, the Conservative Party stands for election in Northern Ireland, and they were founded, you could argue, in 1828, when John Wilson Croker, a Dubliner, first used the expression the Conservative Party. Ireland was partitioned in 1921. Northern Ireland stayed where it was. The major part of Ireland, the southern 26 counties, split away, became the Irish Free State. That's evolved into the Republic of Ireland. So the Ulster Unionist Party won the elections in Northern Ireland to the Northern Ireland Parliament at Stormont, and obviously there was devolution. Northern Ireland had a devolved Parliament within the United Kingdom, so obviously there were people elected to Stormont, and Northern Ireland elected members of Parliament who went to Westminster, so part of the Parliament for the whole of the United Kingdom. A bit confusing, I know. That was that. Anyway, in the 60s, there was an Ulster Unionist leader, Terence O'Neill, who was Prime Minister of Northern Ireland. So this is where it's tricky again. There was a Prime Minister of Northern Ireland who's subordinate to the Prime Minister of the whole United Kingdom. So nowadays, we'd say First Minister, to avoid confusion with the Prime Minister of the whole of the UK. Anyway, Terence O'Neill, he pursued a reformist policy of reconciliation with the Republic of Ireland, trying to win Catholics over to unionism, met with limited success. And the civil rights movement got going, and there were all sorts of ructions and rising tensions and loyalist terrorism and then IRA terrorism and blah, blah, blah. So Terence O'Neill got a lot of grief from a young preacher called the Reverend Ian Paisley, who had set up his own church, the Free Presbyterian Church, and that was that. He stood for Parliament as a Protestant unionist. Occasionally there have been people called Protestant unionists elected to Stormont, but Stormont was mostly Ulster Unionist. Obviously there were nationalist MPs, the Northern Ireland Labour Party, blah, blah, blah. But in 1970, the Democratic Unionist Party was founded by the Reverend Ian Paisley. And he was then elected to Westminster for North Antrim, defeating Henry Clark, who was an Ulster Unionist. Clark was married to a Catholic, which some people used against him. Paisley was later elected to the European Parliament, became an MEP as well. Anyway, Stormont was shut down in 1972, right after Bloody Sunday. There were various assemblies for Northern Ireland through the 70s, through the 80s, even into the 90s, and Paisley was elected to all of those. So the DUP appeared to be little more than his fan club. He had his own newspaper as well, the Protestant Telegraph. So they said they were right on security, as in right wing, as in fulsome measures, be like Draco of Athens when it came to crushing terrorism, do whatever it takes. Had a bad relationship with the Republic of Ireland. They said they were left wing on social issues. You know, we have to tax the rich, we have to have well-funded public services, generous welfare payments, and do what we can to reduce unemployment. So they were populist. And his rhetoric strayed dangerously close to being anti-Catholic, saying the Pope was the whore of Babylon, was Jezebel, and this kind of stuff. So the Ulster Unionist Party, in a sense, had been a segment within the Conservative Party, took the Conservative Party whip at Westminster. But that all broke down about 1973. Stormont was prorogued for a year initially. That turned out to be for, well, 25 years, really. The LC Unionists were dissatisfied with the Conservative Party, feeling it was insufficiently unionist or to back them to the hilt. Other thing about the LC Unionist Council is obviously various constituency associations. They elected people to the LC Unionist Council. The LC Unionist Council was the governing body of the UUP. But the Orange Order elected some ex officio members. So the Orange Order is a political and religious organisation. Now, people of the Orange Order don't all vote for the LC Unionist Party. Some have voted for the Northern Ireland Labour Party or the DUP, or not voted at all, or for other parties. So maybe that was a bit wrong of them. So the LC Unionists were small c conservative, not just in the strictly political sense, but tend to be traditionalists into family values, things like that. Won't go through all the machinations, but Paisley's party was almost as big as the LC Unionist Party. The UUP sometimes called the official Unionist Party. Then came the Good Friday Agreement. The UUP was almost split apart in it. A few of its people, notably Geoffrey Donaldson, Arlene Foster, who've got big careers in the DUP, they started out in the UUP. So the LC Unionist Party narrowly agreed to the Good Friday Agreement in 1998, and Paisley denounced it in the most strident possible language. He was never one to mince words. He was always one for purple prose. But anyway, 9 years later, he ended up agreeing to it, and worse, he went into coalition with Martin McGuinness, the Chuckle Brothers. These two men had hated each other's guts, and there they were, all lovey-dovey. Well, they had the right attitude about 40 years too late. Anyway, the Ulster Unionist Party was overtaken by the DUP as the main Unionist Party in 2001. It's gone very, very small. It's only got one MP at Westminster. The once mighty UUP has been humbled. So they used to disagree on the Good Friday Agreement, but that's no longer the case. That hasn't been the case for 11 years. So why this pointless competition? They might as well pool their resources, merge a single Ulster Unionist Party. It's been discussed before. I don't see why they don't just do that. Don't stand against each other, work with each other. They've already had electoral pacts. We won't compete with you here, you won't compete with us here. That actually also worked in some elections way back in the 1980s, such as when they all resigned from Parliament, their MPs all entered the Chiltern Hundreds, because an office of profit under the Crown is incompatible with being an MP. Since the early 17th century, strictly speaking, MPs had not been allowed to resign. So therefore, they have to get an office of profit under the Crown. And they're put through, one gets that, and immediately he's gone. And several of them will be, Great Steward of the Chiltern Hundreds for one day. It's this more or less fictional office of profit under the Crown. That's the only way you can leave Parliament. They forced an election on the Anglo-Irish Agreement in 1985, and that those constituencies had by-elections in Northern Ireland in 1986, because Thatcher wouldn't give them a referendum on the Good Friday Agreement, so this was their quasi-referendum. And the DUP didn't stand against the UUP in that one. So there would be benefits. They would speak with a single voice. They would save money. They'd be more likely to win elections. So yeah, they should definitely merge. I see no reason to be like that. The Ulster Unionist Party always had a few Catholic members. I think it's fair that until recent years, the DUP had none because of Paisley's rhetoric when he fulminated against Catholicism, and it seemed to be very unwelcoming. Some members of his party were also loyalist terrorists. Now, he didn't endorse loyalist terrorism, but his intemperate rhetoric certainly added fuel to the flames. So that's my take on it. They ought to merge. Then I saw this thing on Facebook a couple of years ago that the DUP had set up in the Republic of Ireland. On YouTube, you can see this press conference, but nothing more has been heard of that. I think, is that a spoof, not standing for election anywhere? Paisley's name used to be Mud in the Republic of Ireland. He was anathema. Sean O'Callaghan, an IRA man, in his book The Informer, said that for them he personified the unreasonable ranting face of bigoted unionism. Did a great disservice to his cause. But yeah, the two parties should definitely join together, amalgamate. Why not?